Hey guys, The Verge just released a leak specifying the Sonos Fury, which is an upcoming product that's supposed to be launched by Sonos in the month of June. So could this be the product that they're going to be announcing to the press on the 25th of May? Let's find out. Alright, so right up front, I have to tell you, I actually don't know the answer. So a lot of sites have already published this article, and The Verge was the first who released this information. I don't know whether it's true or not. So if you're here for the answer on whether this leak is reliable or not, I can't tell you more. You may leave the video now. But if you are keen to stay on and find out about what I think about this leak and this potential product, especially if it is a real product, my whole take on this product, you're welcome to stay on. Now, right up front, I would say that this doesn't look like a product that Sonos is likely to release. And I am basing that on two particular points. The first is how it looks / functions, and the second is the price point. So let me touch on how it looks first. Now, this is a small soundbar. It comes in at 2 inches below 2 feet, which is smaller than the Sonos Beam, which is coming in 2 inches above 2 feet, and the Sonos Arc is touching about 4 feet wide. Now, in terms of size, this is gonna be nothing more than just this size, right? If I were to be holding the real production unit in my hand, this is basically how it's going to look, just 550 mm across. Now, it houses 4 speakers. It houses 4 distinct cones, and 2 of the cones are firing forward. Those looks like the mid-range cone, and I'm going to flash the picture right up here. So there will be 2 more. It looks like horn loaded. It looks like some baffle that is built in to direct the sound to either side of the soundbar. So there are a total of 4 drivers in this unit. The Beam has 5 drivers with a dedicated tweeter right in the middle for directional sound, as well as 2 passive radiators, but it has 5 distinct amplifiers. For the Sonos Arc, it has 11 drivers paired with 11 amplifiers. So this is the baby soundbar of sorts. If you look at the rear of it, which I can't tell because this picture is rendered by The Verge and they only have the front, as well as what you will see here, which is the kind of like a cutaway, right? Except that it's not cut in half. It's just removing the front baffle so that it can see the speaker layout. And these are the 2 mid-range drivers right in the middle here, and the 2 kind of horn-loaded, looks like the Klipsch kind of horn-loaded speaker that will direct sound to the left and the right. Now, if you think about the Sonos Beam, it has 5 distinct drivers, and 2 of the drivers are actually angled very aggressively 45 degrees to the left and the right for a very wide soundstage or to simulate the surround. For this particular speaker, if it were to be kind of like mounted vertically, like what The Verge says, for surround duties, so that there is an upward firing, then I guess the angling is not aggressive enough. But again, this is a concept drawing. This is a 3D render. It doesn't mean that the end product looks like that. If Sonos has the whole intention of making it fire upwards for Atmos effects, then the angling probably needs to be a little bit more aggressive. Now, Dolby Labs actually specify the upward firing angle to be a 60-degree plane. So if this were to be 0 degrees firing right upwards, then you have to angle it down to 60 degrees for the sound to travel up, hit the ceiling, and reach back down for the real Atmos effect. So this angle is probably not aggressive enough. So in terms of physical connection, it only has optical inputs. So it is quite unthinkable that Sonos in the year of 2022 is launching a product with only optical input. The optical input is many decades old, maybe 40 or 50 years old already. And Sonos has the eARC input on both the Sonos Beam Gen 2 as well as the Sonos Arc. And the eARC port is actually capable of accepting full bandwidth Dolby Atmos. Now this Sonos Fury is deemed to be incapable of supporting Atmos. Now at a price point of $250, a bit more on that in a while, I would say it's fair to take away the Dolby Atmos processing capability. Now, what the optical input port will suffice is to provide 5.1 Dolby Digital surround sound. It's not too bad, you still can get surround sound, but it's just not Atmos capable. Now, to move on to this video, I have to bring in special attention to the price point. It is supposed to be launched at $250. Now, let's take a stock of the current lineup that Sonos has. The Sonos One SL, and I'm using the One SL because like the Sonos Fury here, it does not have an onboard mic to accept voice commands. So the Sonos Fury has no onboard mic and thus is incapable of processing voice commands, no smart assistant on board this particular speaker. The Sonos One SL is priced at $200 US. The Sonos Play 3, when it was launched, was about $350 US. But of course, that Sonos Play 3 is no longer available. The next up is the Sonos Five, which is being priced at a staggering $550. So in terms of price range, this is actually a lot closer to the Sonos One than the Sonos Five. And in terms of number of drivers and the whole form factor itself, with the addition of a port, $250 is actually a darn good price to pay for a speaker from Sonos with this capability, 4 drivers, 4 amplifiers, as well as an optical input port. Think about that, right? The Sonos One SL has no means of accepting sound from any other source except wirelessly. This adds on an optical port. Even the Sonos Five only has a 3.5mm input port. So $250 sounds a little bit too good to be true if you were looking at this from a point of view of just a speaker, right? Because for $50 more than the Sonos One SL, you are getting double the drivers, more amplifiers, as well as the opportunity to actually input sounds via an optical port. Now, if you think of it as a soundbar and then you start comparing to the Beam, the Beam is priced at $450 after a price hike towards the end of last year, and that is almost, not twice the price, but almost twice the price of the Sonos Fury. And the Sonos Arc is then again twice the price of the Sonos Beam, priced at $900. So technically, this is like almost a quarter the cost of the Sonos Arc. For 4 drivers, I mean, if you calculate it that way, it is really not too bad a price to pay even for a soundbar. So if you ask me, if I want this speaker, yes, I want this speaker. I think it is a very believable speaker, but the price point is just a little bit unbelievably low. I do think that Sonos has the right and is actually capable of pricing this a little bit higher. And I'm not suggesting that, so don't downvote this video. I'm just sharing with you my thoughts. Now, if it is really launching at $250, my suggestion to you is go out and grab one. Optical input, you can pair it to your PC, direct connection. No need for the HDMI to optical connection that is provided with the Beam or the Arc. It will just be a direct connection using the optical cable to your PC. Now you can use it as a standalone stereo speaker as well, because that is like the Play 3s of the old, right? One speaker unit, side firing speaker cones, and there you go, stereo image. And in terms of sound quality, I'm even commenting this blind. I've not heard it. In fact, I've not even seen this, but at $250, how can this 4-driver speaker sound any worse than the Sonos One SL? And you're just paying $50 more. So you can't go wrong with this guy if it is priced at $250. If it is priced at $350, then maybe a little bit hard to make the recommendation because the Beam is just another $100 away. I know this is a slippery slope, but you know, it is what it is, right? $100 more, you get a full-fledged Beam Gen 2 with Atmos capabilities, HDMI input, full bandwidth support for Dolby Atmos lossless. I think it's a no-brainer at that point in time. So I think the only price that they can price this at is probably about $250. And if this is a real product, $250, go get it. So it is at this juncture that I have to share with you that I think the product is unbelievable. Number one, it's supposed to double up as a stereo speaker, but charging only $50 more than the Sonos One SL, that's why it's unbelievable. Number two, is supposed to double up as a soundbar. And a $250 soundbar, this product seems to be just put out in the market to compete with the low-end soundbars that the competitors of Sonos is pushing out. But why is that still possible? Because Sonos needs to capture more of the homes. Now, at $450 is not exactly the best entry price for a lot of homes. Now, Sonos, if you read their whole annual reports and their financial filings, you will notice that they are aggressively trying to occupy more homes. I don't remember the percentage offhand, but I believe it's between 7 and 11% of home penetration in the US market. So there is quite a bit of room for Sonos to grow in terms of home penetration. And they know that, right? The moment somebody owns a piece of Sonos device, the rest will follow, like the sub and the surround. So usually, Sonos will look at least three odd number of Sonos items in each household. All they need is to get their foot into that household. And this unit, priced at $250 for its functionality, sounds like the trick that will enable them to do that. So price as a speaker, great value. Price as a soundbar, fantastic value. The third proposition, which is what the Verge article alludes to, is the possibility of positioning this particular Sonos Fury in a vertical format to perform surround duties. So when positioned as a surround speaker, this is the part that I find it a little bit unbelievable also, because I can't actually imagine Sonos trying to put a 550mm speaker in vertical format to perform surround duty. Firstly, it's going to look very weird. It looks like it takes a lot of space. Now, 550mm horizontally, it doesn't look very long, but 550mm vertically, it actually takes up quite a bit of space. And because of the rounded sides, you aren't able to actually stand it on its own. So you can't put it on a tabletop or a coffee table. You actually have to mount it some way. So they may have floor stands that will mount it at the rear, or you actually have to wall mount these speakers. So in terms of deployment, it is not going to be the easiest. You are likely to end up spending a little bit more to add on to the $250 times 2 to actually mount these speakers. Now, when you are positioning these speakers for rear surround duties, think about it. Who are the people who will use it? If you were a Beam user, right? The Beam is small, but these are just 4 inches shorter than the Beam. And you're going to have 2 of them. Now, your room is going to look really cluttered because these aren't going to be small. Dimensionally, height and depth, they are about the same as the Sonos Beam. But the length, while shorter, when placed vertically, is going to take up quite a bit of space on the wall. The other thing is that Sonos Beam is costing $450. These two surround is going to be $500. Now, does it actually make sense? You won't be pairing a Sonos Fives as surround to your Sonos Beam, right? You would think that the Sonos 5, if you want to use them for surround duty, it is more aptly paired to the Sonos Arc because of the price range difference. You are unlikely to want to spend more money on the surround than on the centerpiece, which is the Sonos Beam Gen 2 in this particular case, right? And not only that, the Sonos Beam actually uses simulated Atmos speakers. They don't actually have upward firing speaker. And by adding the Sonos Fury to the rear, yes, you get 2 more upward firing channels to the rear, but these are real physical surround. So I don't know what the intent is. Does it sound like your surround is going to be more capable than the Sonos Beam Gen 2 already? Because that's how it's sounding like, right? So the intended audience for surround unlikely is going to target the Sonos Beam user. Now, in terms of targeting the Sonos Arc user, which I believe it will be, because the Sonos Arc actually has 2 physical upward firing speakers. So for these to actually fire upwards, it will create a total of 4 upward firing channels. Fantastic for those of you who are trying to achieve a 5.1 or 2.4 Atmos system. 0.4 means 4 upward firing channels, which are afforded by 2 of these units to the rear and 2 of the upward firing units on the Sonos Arc. So in that particular setup, yes, then it makes sense, but it then makes for a really expensive Atmos setup for your Sonos Arc with possibly a subwoofer and a pair of these for another $500. I would say that that's possibly the only use case for these as the surround sound speakers. So these are just my thoughts for what looks like a possible leak for the Sonos product that's going to be announced on the 25th of May. I will know firsthand on what is going to be announced on the 25th of May. So if there's no embargo on the news, I will be sharing with you guys on this channel. So stay tuned, and if you're not yet already subscribed, do consider subscribing to this and ringing the notification bell so that you can be notified the moment I release the video on the new product that is going to be announced on the 25th of May. Availability probably at a slightly later date, but soon after. And if this article is correct, it will likely be launched in the month of June, and you will be able to get your hands on that unit. Similarly, I will get my hands on the unit as soon as I can, and I will do a series of review including frequency measurements on how this stacks up so that you can have a sensing of how it sounds like as opposed to the Beam or as opposed to the Sonos Arc, or even if you're testing them as speakers, as stereo music speakers, how it stacks up to the Sonos One or the Sonos Fives. Now you may notice also something in my background. I have the IKEA Symphonix lamp. I know there's no lampshade. Unfortunately, IKEA Singapore brought in the Symphonix lamp without the light shade, without the lampshade. Can you believe that? So it's looking a little bit naked here. I've heard it. I will share with you in an upcoming video. So again, subscribe if you are interested in this. And fading into the background, because I have it in black, is actually the IKEA Symphonix picture frame. Teaser. That sound is amazing. I will share with you more in an upcoming video, and I will see you very, very soon.